Good evening. I'm call this meeting to order, please. Could we please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor Gibbons,
Here.
Councilmember Reinecker,
Here.
Councilmember Schaefer,
Here.
Councilmember Zimmer,
Here.
Councilmember Jack Sadek,
Here.
Councilmember Litzo. Here. Councilmember McLean.
Here.
Thank you. This is a really special evening for our recognitions and introductions. And with that, Russ, we are inviting who to come up to the podium?
We get Doug Raymond, the captain from the police department, to start.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. It is with great pride that I introduce Sergeant Don Douglas, who was promoted to sergeant in July. Hold up, buddy. I'm gonna stand up here alone. Sergeant Douglas joined the Kirkwood Police Department in 2014 after serving as a part-time officer in Country Club Hills, and then 6 years with the Bell Fountain Police Department as a full-time officer. During his time at Kirkwood, he has held various roles, including patrol officer, school resource officer, both at NYFR and the high school, a detective, both a general detective and juvenile detective. He also served on the major case squad, St. Louis area major case squad. Don has been an explorer advisor, field training officer, defensive tactics instructor, and he is also a key instructor for active shooter tactics. Don's extensive knowledge and experience make him an invaluable asset to Kirkwood.
Congratulations to you, bud.
Again, Mayor and council members, on May 30th, 2024 at 5:23 p.m., officers were responded to an assault call in the 300 block of South Kirkwood Road. The suspect was eventually located at a nearby business, and as Officer Shell arrived to assist in the investigation, the suspect attempted to evade the officers by climbing over a rail. Officer Shell managed to pull him back, and both he and the suspect went to the ground. Officer Shell noticed the subject was reaching into his waistband and observed a handgun. Officer Shell alerted the other officers by yelling "gun" multiple times. He grabbed the suspect's arm and the firearm and pinned it to the ground. During the struggle, the suspect was able to fire one round towards Kirkwood Road. The action of Officer Shell grabbing the slide of the handgun prevented more rounds from being fired, as there were 14 more rounds in the magazine. As the suspect continued to resist, Officer Shell used his taser to subdue the suspect, causing him to drop the weapon. Despite ongoing resistance, Officer Joler and Officer Cattleman helped secure the suspect with handcuffs. The suspect has been charged in the St. Louis County Prosecutor's Office with 4 counts of first-degree harassment, resisting arrest by creating a substantial risk of serious injury, death to any person, and 4th-degree assault. He is still in jail on a $50,000 cash bond. In recognition of extraordinary bravery, steadfast courage, and dedication to public safety, it is my honor to present Officer Shell with the Distinguished Service Award for Valor.
Here, here.
Wow. Thank you very much to our police department. We really appreciate you being here and the honors, and especially Officer Shell, what he did for our community. We'll now move into public hearings.
Oh, actually, we have fire.
Oh, sorry, fire. Fire department.
That would be Chief Silvernail.
Sorry, chief, I didn't mean to.
Mayor and council, thank you very much for this opportunity to recognize two of our members this evening. After a long tenured career, we experienced the retirement of two of our senior officers, Captain Tallis and Captain Stratman. And in their vacancy created the need for two captains. We had a process earlier in the year, and we have very capable people over in our organization, and it was not an easy process. But I'm here tonight with two of them who are successful and very capable in fulfilling this role for the city and to our citizens. So I'd like to call them up right now, Captain Tyler Burns and Captain Nathan Higginbotham. Captain Burns was promoted in July. He currently serves at Station 1A. And Nathan Higginbotham was just recently promoted last week, this in September, and he is currently stationed at Engine House 2C. I'm not gonna pin your badges on, as you know. I'm gonna call up your family members real quick. Dad, and is Evie coming with you? Call her up.
She's a photographer.
Yeah, okay. Make sure I got the right ones. And you? Thank you. They're tricky. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Big difference.
Yeah.
Once again, we thank you for this opportunity, and we look forward to the future and have some great leadership. Feel free, please go around and shake their.
Congratulations.
And now. Right. Now we're going to have Officer Connors come back up and give us an update on what's happening with traffic in Kirkwood and the police
Good
department.
evening.
Thank you.
So in coordination with Mr. Hawes, he thought it'd be a good idea, since we had all this stuff going on tonight, to come and talk to you guys about what we're looking at as far as downtown Kirkwood. Obviously, as it gets warmer each year, we have a lot of complaints with downtown Kirkwood with traffic and things like that. Since COVID, it seems like, this is a cruising spot for teenagers on the weekends. We're getting a lot of rapid acceleration of vehicles, things like that. So at the start of the summer, we start trying to figure out a game plan on what we can do to address it. You obviously see in City Source, we started getting a lot of complaints right away as soon as the summer hit and school was out. Now we're on the back side of it, so we're starting to get into colder weather here soon, and weather in fall and winter. So, usually it slows down a little bit, but just to kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at, our response so far, the recent in the past few weeks, you probably noticed that we put the camera trailer that we have out here on Kirkwood Road, and it's right here. And we were hoping a lot of the rapid acceleration, loud mufflers, things like that, that would kind of deter some of that as they got into downtown. They would see the blue light on there. They would see that they're being recorded or we can view it. And we thought that maybe they would slow that part of it down. We also adjusted our traffic safety unit hours. So we staggered their hours up until now. So we have one officer that comes in and works very early in the morning. We have one about mid-morning and then one works into the early evening. So what we did was to try to maximize that coverage. We've moved our traffic safety hours to they're all into the early evening, all three of them. So that's helped quite a bit. They've been doing a lot of traffic stops, and we feel like that presence has kind of curbed it just a little bit. Officer Baldridge in the afternoon, he's been walking in the business district, checking in with businesses, trying to find out if, any issues that he can develop and ways that we can try to tackle it from the business perspective, what they see and what they do. So with that, we also are looking at extra attention on early school release days. Seems like the juveniles from the schools flood into downtown when early release, so 11, 12 o'clock. So our SROs trying to keep them into downtown during those times because they recognize all the students from their schools and try to show that extra presence has been good. So we looked at, other than the erratic driving, as far as the rapid acceleration and the mufflers and things like that, what other issues we had. We did some analysis on speed. I looked at that actually this week again, just to give you a brief idea. We have a new an analytics program that allows us to see where our officers are doing stops, where our vehicle accidents are at, where calls are going. So I was able to kind of maneuver that a little bit. I started out with Kirkwood Road, one block east and west of Kirkwood Road. So you're looking at like Taylor to Clay, and then going from Washington down to Woodbine. So that gave us a pretty good overview of our downtown. So with that, we've had so far this year 325 traffic contacts just in that section of downtown. I'm sorry, correction, 450. If I do it just the traffic contacts we've had on Kirkwood Road itself, it was 325. So, and the reason I did one block east or west is because sometimes officers, they have the traffic stop start on Kirkwood Road and then it goes off to the side and then on a side road to make it more safe for everybody or traffic. And then that's where their location of the stop is. So that's what we did. Kirkwood Road itself, anywhere between south of Manchester to north of our city limits, we've done 1,026 traffic contacts this year. So overall, citywide, we've done 5,026. So 20% of our traffic contacts have been on Kirkwood Road. Addressing speed, I looked at speed and I looked at from Washington to Woodbine to kind of get an idea of what our speed looks like. Like I said, the other analytics program that we have that was the engineering department purchased several years ago has really been helpful for us. Looking at that for all of summer, it looks like the average speed from that section is 21 miles an hour and our speed limit is 30. The 85th percentile is 29, which is basically to say 15% of the drivers are going 29. And then 95th percentile is 31. So only 5% of the drivers are actually hitting 1 mile an hour over the speed limit. So we don't think that speed is an issue. Like I said, the rapid acceleration of getting to a stoplight and then revving their engine to get to the next stoplight. And then it sounds like they're racing and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of what we're looking at. The muffler issue is a constant issue. Our ordinance covers aftermarket mufflers, things like that. So we tried to kind of focus on that a little bit. And with our response, it seems like it's getting a little better. It seems like we're a little bit more proactive with it. And like I said, as we get into cooler weather, we're hoping that has kind of passed for this year at least, mostly, until we get warmer again. So I'll take questions if you got them.
Questions from council? Yes.
So I'll compliment you. I was downtown and actually saw a few pull in behind people at Taco Bell's and so forth. My question though is, are we giving them tickets? Are we giving them a talking to and a warning? And/or how is that determined?
So it's officer's discretion. State law doesn't allow us to dictate what they do. So it's how the officer feels to stop. I know we've always tried to have a good ratio. So we we're not going to give everybody a ticket. We try to give warnings as much as we can. If we start having the same driver over and over and over, that escalates things. The officers know some of the, the juveniles, or they know some of the drivers that are causing these problems because they keep seeing them over and over. And if that escalates, then a lot of times they're going to go right to tickets. So I would think, looking at it earlier with 1,026 traffic stops, we were about 25% tickets.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a
Councilman
question.
Rivera.
How many parking tickets are written in downtown Kirkwood?
I don't have that figure. I know we have a full-time, or not full-time, sorry, part-time parking attendant that.
Can I get that
is run-
information
Yeah.
from you?
Yeah, absolutely.
All
We
right,
can
I'll
get that
get
for
ahold
you.
of you.
Yep, sure.
Anybody else? Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate the work that you're doing and helping to slow down things down.
Not a problem. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, now we will move into a public hearing. At this time, the council will recess to conduct a public hearing regarding allocation of $140,000 in community development block grant funds. Mr. Hessel, do you have anything that you'd like to enter into the record?
I would, Mayor. Exhibit 1 is an affidavit of publication verifying notice of this public hearing appeared in the Webster Kirkwood Times. Exhibit 2 is an affidavit of publication verifying notice of this public hearing appeared in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, as well as a version also appeared in the stltoday.com. And Exhibit 3 is the Code of Ordinances of the City of Kirkwood.
Thank you. Mr. Hawes, who will present this issue to the city council?
That would be Assistant Chief Administrative Officer David Weidler.
Okay.
Mayor and council, if you'll just give me one moment, we're handing a couple of things out and getting some signatures here.
For those of you curious, it's a requirement from county that city collects signatures of those who are in attendance during the public hearing. So
Ah.
that's why David, so those of you who are new, that's why that's happening.
I'm not new and I didn't realize that.
Oh, yes, please.
All right, Mayor and council. We received funding for a 3-year program through the Community Development Block Grant Program, CDBG. Through the St. Louis Department of Human Services, Office of Community Development. We participate within the Home Improvement Program. The national objectives of the CDBG Community Block Development Program are primarily to benefit low and moderate income residents, eliminate slums and blight, and alleviate urgent, serious, and critical community needs that are recent or of recent origin. The city will receive $140,400 for FY 2025 through this program. The program is for a 3-year period, which recently changed from an annual program. What we have done in the past is what we're recommending to do in 2021 with these funds. It is to place them with other funding from municipalities in St. Louis County, as well as funds received by St. Louis County, and to use them for the rehabilitation of private residences in Kirkwood, administered through St. Louis County government's Home Improvement Program. St. Louis County government's Home Improvement Program provides up to $7,500 for approved home repairs for eligible low to moderate income homeowners at no cost. Eligible repair items include furnace air conditioning, roofing, plumbing, electrical, tuck pointing, concrete, asphalt, masonry, hot water heaters, insulation, handrail installation, tree trimming and removal, waterproofing and foundation work, fences, and retaining walls. I'm going to quickly read to you here what CDBG is and some of the information that they have provided. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development HUD Community Development Block Grant Program provides annual grants on a formula basis to entitled cities and counties to develop viable urban communities by providing decent housing and a suitable living environment, and by expanding economic opportunities principally for low to moderate income persons. The national objectives, as I stated before, all activities funded by CDBG program must meet one of the following national objectives: primarily benefit low and moderate income residents, eliminate slums and blight, alleviate urgent, serious, and critical community needs that are of recent origin. Eligible activities include infrastructure and public facilities improvements, acquisition, construction, reconstruction, rehabilitation, or installation of public facilities and improvements such as streets, sidewalks, parks, water and sewer facilities, sanitary sewers, neighborhood centers, parking lots, fire stations, and ADA accessible enhancements, clearance activities, clearance, demolition, and removal of buildings, public services, provision of public services, including labor, supplies, and materials, including but not limited to those concerned with employment, crime prevention, child care, health, drug abuse, education, fair housing counseling, energy conservation, utility payments, or recreational needs. To be eligible for CDBG assistance, a public service must be either a new service or a quantifiable increase in the level of an existing service above that which has been provided by or on behalf of the unit of general local government. Due to federal restrictions, no more than 15% of a municipal allocation may be designated for public service activities without prior Office of Community Development approval. Examples of public services include crime awareness, youth services, neighborhood cleanups, and subsistence payments, rental and utility assistance. Rehabilitation and preservation activities, CDBG funds may be used to finance the rehabilitation of privately owned buildings and improvements for residential purposes, low-income public housing and other publicly owned residential buildings and improvements, publicly or privately owned commercial and industrial buildings, except that the rehabilitation of such buildings owned by a private or for-profit business is limited to improvements to the exterior of the building and the correction of code violations, nonprofit-owned, non-residential buildings and improvements. Ineligible activities, improvements to buildings used for conduct of government, such as City Hall. Exceptions, police and fire stations, community centers, ADA improvements to governmental buildings. General government expenses, such as regular trash pickup. Political activities, such as campaigns, voter registration drives, and activities that support religious worship. As I stated before, what we're recommending here to do with the funds is to put them in with other funding with St. Louis County through a St. Louis County managed program for home improvement, which provides $7,500 in approved home repairs for eligible low to moderate income homeowners at no cost. One of the most frequent questions I receive is how the program is performing. Recently, I reached out to our community development specialist, and as of September 16th, there was about $35,000 still in home improvement funds that have not been expended through 2022, the 2022 agreement. But there are 19 applications in the wait list, and the funding that was left for 2022 has already been claimed by residents on the list. Does council have any questions at this time?
Councilmember Jasetic?
Yeah, I gotta come. For somebody to qualify, will the grant pay whoever performs the work directly? Or do they have to cover it somehow, or how does that work?
So I do not believe it comes out of the individual's pocket directly. I don't know. I'd have to verify if it gets paid to the individual, but most of the time it gets paid to the contractor. They do have to submit bids to St. Louis County through the process, the way it's administered, and obviously go through the period of review on the application as long as there's funds available. Luckily, in our instances, we haven't had much wait for funds to become available. Funds from the application, which would follow this for the program, which would be a resolution on your next meeting, would take effect as of January 1st, 2025. And it just depends upon when the county receives the money from the state, since the state collects the money through the federal, it goes federal, state, then through the county.
Do we tend to have our allocations spent
Yes.
So we do. And
Yeah.
I was glad to hear the tree trimming and removal opportunity, because we've recently had a citizen concerned about some trees that were dying and needed to, and, is concerned about residents, whether, it's pretty costly. So it's kind of a nice alternative for us to keep kind of in our wheelhouse for those that might qualify and have trees that are not like in the right of way, but in property, but could impact us if they fell down and took out the electric wires, to have a fund or something that could be tapped into. So that's a nice, a piece in there.
Yep. And it's also been very positive that in 2023, they increased the amount from 5,000 to 7,500 per instance.
Right.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Thank you, Mayor. So this program that we're talking about, I was part of for 30-plus years through the county. Glenn, who was one of our inspectors down below, is now one of the ones that go out and inspect. So it used to be 10,000. Then it went down to 5,000 around 2008 when money was a little tighter. And now I'm glad it went up to 7,500. We used to do them all the time. But the thing that we always found was people in not just Kirkwood, but Glendale and some of the other surrounding areas weren't aware that that money was there for them. So a recommendation I would put out, we send a flyer out with the electric bill every month that we could put something in there that would explain to them. And my understanding is it's a lien against the property for 5 years. And every year that they stay, 1/5 of that debt goes away. So, or if the person passes that lives in the house. So that's the way the program worked for 30-plus years. And actually one of our citizens here in Kirkwood is one of the administrators over at the county that takes care of that. So that's a little history from my.
Thank you. Any other questions from council?
I
Councilmember
don't know if
Bledsoe.
I might have some questions, but I just want to, applaud this program, though I wish there were a way maybe for the cities to gang up on the Fed and give us more money. I mean, I was originally, when I looked at this, I thought, because I've been railing on this almost every year it comes up, I was so excited. It's like, $140,400. That's so wonderful. It's more than twice what it's been for the past few years. And I went to David and he's like, no, it's becoming a 3-year program now. The funding is still the same. I mean, it doesn't go very far. I'm sure though for the recipients of these grants, it's, a huge, relief and help to them. It helps us retain smaller homes, affordable housing. It helps reduce demolition by neglect. So I think this is a great program, but I just wish we could figure out a way to somehow get more money. Because I think there's more of a need than, what is this? 6.6 possible 7,500? Well, I didn't do the math, but it's just a handful of possible projects each year. But as Gina mentioned, I don't know if it specifically for Kirkwood that it has to be like for windows and whatever kind of code updates, or if someone could apply for, like, for example, they have a hazardous tree on their property that can be an expensive project. So I don't know how much leeway there is.
So they've expanded their list to the eligible items that I provided here. But it does include tree trimming and removal. Even the things such as hot water heaters now these days are $2,500 where they used to be 1,000. So things have gone up in cost.
Expensive plumbers, yeah.
But yeah, it could cover an HVAC repair for somebody in need and all those type of things.
Mhm.
Our roof.
Yeah, our
That's,
roof.
that's huge. Get the roof covered.
Mhm.
Okay, any additional questions? All right. We'll move into the public comments portion for this public hearing. David, are there any? Yes.
Oh, there we go. Mayor and council, there are no requests for comment.
Okay, thank you. Okay, hearing no further discussion, this public hearing is now closed. The resolution will be on the October 3rd council meeting agenda for council consideration. And now we will move into public comments.
The public comments portion of the meeting is an opportunity for the city council to listen to comments from citizens. It is not a question and answer session, and the city council will not respond to comments or answer questions during this period. The mayor may refer any matter brought up to the city council to the chief administrative officer or city clerk if action is needed.
Thank you. David, has anyone filed to make a public comment tonight?
Mayor and council, there are no requests for comment at this time.
Very good. We'll move into the consent agenda. Is there a motion and second for the consent agenda?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. Consent agenda passes. Now we're going to move into unfinished business. Bill 11044A.
Mayor and council, this is an ordinance granting a special use permit for an accessory dwelling unit for the property addressed as 1325 Lark Avenue, subject to certain conditions.
Are there any questions or comments about Bill 11044A? See,
I would just say that amended. Is that correct?
Uh-huh.
As amended.
Mhm.
Yep.
Thank
Right,
you.
it
that's
was
the A
amended,
part.
yes. Okay. Roll call, please.
Mayor Gibbons?
Yes.
Councilmember Reinecker?
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer?
Yes.
Councilmember Jack Sadek?
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo?
Yes.
Councilmember McLean?
Yes.
Bill 11048 has passed. Bill 11045.
Mayor and council, this is an ordinance amending the Kirkwood Code of Ordinances, Chapter 14, Article 8, Section 14-401, one-way streets, to add Argonne Alley as a one-way alley between the east property line of 114 West Jefferson and Clay Avenue in the westbound direction.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments about Bill 11045? Yes.
I talked to the downtown business district, and they kind of surveyed all their members that live along there or work along there. They were all happy to see this.
Thank you for doing that. Any other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mayor Gibbons?
Yes.
Councilmember Reinecker?
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer?
Yes.
Councilmember Jack Sadek?
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo?
Yes.
Councilmember McLean?
Yes.
Bill 11045 passes final reading. There will be a substitute bill for 11046. We all need a motion and a second to bring a substitute bill 11046 on the floor for consideration.
Motion. Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? Okay. So substitute bill 11046.
Mayor and council, this is an ordinance fixing and establishing the rate of taxation to be levied upon all real estate and to certain tangible personal property in the city of Kirkwood, county of St. Louis, state of Missouri, for the year 2024 for the maintenance of the Kirkwood Public Parks, for the Police and Firemen's Pension Fund, for general government services, and for businesses in the Special Business District.
All in favor of bringing, okay, sorry, roll call, please.
Do you want to see if there's any questions or
Oh,
comments?
any questions or comments?
I have a comment.
Thank you.
Yes, the last go round, we did talk about the ceilings and so I did some more work around, the tax rate ceilings that we're at. So we currently, in all the areas, are at our Hancock adjusted ceiling, which is below what the voter approval has been in the past. But we are at our current, and Russ and I had a chance to talk about this, so he and I agree, at least we did last week.
We still did.
Okay. And we've had, in looking at it, in 2018, we did a police and fire voluntary tax rate reduction. And I was on the council when we reduced it before, because it was overfunded at the time. But then in 2015, if you all remember, we did add a third full-time fire ambulance and added staff. And so I think that got us a little behind. Chief Openlander at the time had a compelling story to tell about adding a third full-time ambulance, and the voters agreed. And again, I think that was 2015. By the time we hired them, that pension voluntary reduction rate was rolled back. So that happened in 2018. And in 2022, the parks, the council at that time had a the voluntary rate reduction reversed. So in the last few years, we've had a couple of times where we voluntarily reduced, but we're back to the Hancock adjusted ceiling. So historically, we've done pretty well. I think there's still, and at some point Mary might be able to, doesn't have to talk to it tonight, but the personal property rates are at the voter approved ceiling. And just at some point, if we could have a conversation on how that's configured, because I know there's lots of formulas and things that come and go in the state and the county and everybody gets involved. But seeing that those are at the voter approved, it will be just helpful in the future to have that discussion.
Very good. Thank you.
Is that
Any other-
right, Russ?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
totally accurate.
Councilmember Letzo.
Thank you, Mayor. I had asked for information about that ceiling for the police and fire property tax pension fund, and received that from CFO Sprung or Russ. And it does look like, we transfer a little over $250,000 a year, from the general fund to the, P&F, pension fund. And I'm just wondering, is that being covered by Prop S money, Russ, or do we need to?
P.
Or Prop P, that's the county Prop P,
Mhm.
and are there any issues with using those funds to cover this? Or do we need to look for additional source of funding, for the shortfall in the pension fund itself that comes from?
I think it's a consideration the council will have to take up at some point in the future if they want the pension fund to be fully funded without other outside sources. The intent, I believe, when it was founded, was it would be funded by the property tax.
Mhm.
And the property tax was at a rate at which it covered that, as Gina spoke. But I think the time now has come where we need to at least consider, should we make adjustments somewhere along the way to readjust that.
But to answer my question as to whether we could, were we at the ceiling, the maximum ceiling as far as the tax rates and all of that? It's
Mhm.
like the answer to that is yes. So we have to consider other possibilities. But anyway, I want to say thank you to staff for getting me the information, and thanks to Gina for her fiscal analysis over there. Very helpful.
Learn in Excel.
Yes. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Gibbons?
Yes.
Councilmember Reinecker?
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer?
Yes.
Councilmember Jack Sadek?
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo?
Yes.
Councilmember McLean?
Yes.
Substitute Bill 11046 has passed final reading. Substitute Bill 11047.
We'll need a motion and a second to bring that to the floor.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, very good. All in favor? All opposed? Okay. All right, substitute Bill 11047.
Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance fixing and establishing the rate of taxation to be levied upon all real estate and certain tangible personal property in the city of Kirkwood, county of St. Louis, state of Missouri for the year 2024 for the operation and maintenance of the municipal library district of Kirkwood.
Okay, are there any questions or comments on substitute Bill 11047? Nothing from Councilmember Jasetic?
No, other than I'll just reiterate that Kirkwood Library District is different. Not all of Kirkwood is in the library district. So
Yeah,
there is some
Thank you.
variation in what went into the the figuring of the tax.
Mhm.
Yeah, if you look at some of that, it is a little bit different.
Good, yes. Okay, any other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mayor Gibbons?
Yes.
Councilmember Reinecker?
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer?
Yes.
Councilmember Jack Sadek?
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo?
Yes.
Councilmember McLean?
Yes.
Substitute Bill 11047 has passed final reading. Bill 11048.
Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into a Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission Carbon Reduction Program Agreement for the CRP 5502-617 Grants Trail Extension Phase 2 project.
Thank you. Are there any, do I have a motion
Motion.
and a second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments about Bill 11048?
Other than this is awesome that we've got funding for phase 2 for Grants Trail.
Yes.
Thank you, staff, and
Yes, it is.
what is this, Missouri Highways and Transportation for the money? Thank you.
Yep. Very good. Roll call, please.
This is first reading, so we'll just need,
Oh,
all in
sorry.
favor, say aye.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Bill 11048 passes first reading. Bill 11049.
Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into a Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission Transportation Enhancements Funds Supplemental Agreement Number 2 for the awarded Transportation Alternatives Program TAP grant for TAP 5502-613 Historic Kirkwood Amtrak Station Restoration Project.
Do I have a motion and second for Bill 11049?
So moved.
Very good. Any questions or comments? I'll say one. This is a long time coming. We're very glad to have it. Yes, Councilmember Zimmer.
It's notable that we just heard the train come through.
Oh, I didn't even. Yes. yeah,
Well,
Councilmember
and
Watson.
yes, another hooray and bravo to staff. I wonder, could we just get some information? Because I was not aware that we could get like a CPI adjustment for this. And maybe could we just get
Mm.
a, since,
This is a one-off program where basically they're attempting to allocate state ARPA funds, and they've allowed basically grant recipients to apply for additional funds for inflationary costs as a result of COVID issues. And the fact that we've all experienced unusual inflation over the past few years. So the city applied and was awarded the maximum funding for this project of 240,916.
that's super. So, and then maybe Russ, I had heard that maybe we're gonna have the double wide trailer being set up very soon. Do you have an update on what's going on?
Chris may have specifics on that, but I do not have. I've heard it's coming, but that's all I can tell you.
Double wide and downtown.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. So just to be clear, this bill doesn't approve the construction contract. That will be coming next city council meeting. We got our big concurrence yesterday from MoDOT. And so all this is for to accept the additional $240,000 for the inflationary costs. So at this point, I don't have a time frame. Maybe next meeting I can speak to that. Thank you.
Be anxious to hear from you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All right. Then all in favor of the first reading of approval of Bill 11049, say aye.
Aye.
No? The first reading has approval for Bill 11049. Bill 11045, sorry, 50.
Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance vacating a 10-foot wide easement that exists on attractive land located in part of Lot 9 of Windsor Acres. subdivision recorded in Plat 31, page 35 of the St. Louis County Records, located in the city of Kirkwood, St. Louis County, Missouri, and more particularly described in Exhibits A and B attached hereto and incorporated by reference herein.
Do I have a motion and second for Bill 11050 for first reading approval?
Motion.
Second.
Very good. Any questions or comments on the bill? All in favor of first reading approval of Bill 11050, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Bill 11050 passes first reading. Resolution 130-2024.
Mayor and Council, this is a resolution accepting the single source proposal of Global Rental in the amount of $43,944.55 for the purchase of the DB37 backyard accessible bucket lift machine for the Electric Department and authorizing and directing the Director of Procurement to issue a purchase order.
Do I have a motion and second to accept Resolution 130-2024 as read?
Motion.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions?
I think it's a great idea, Mayor, that they're getting it to save personnel's backs and so forth. So anything that we can do to keep us OSHA compliant would be great.
Any other comments?
I just have a question, Mark. Is this a bucket that you can go up high, or how high does it go?
Yes, and it doesn't have a cab in the front.
All right.
It's on a
Yep.
trailer and you can take it into, and it's double. So you
Good. Great idea.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mayor Gibbons?
Yes.
Councilmember Reinecker?
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer?
Yes.
Councilmember Dick Sadek?
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo? Yes. Councilmember McLean?
Yes.
Great. Resolution 130-2024 has passed as read. Resolution 131-2024.
Mayor and Council, this is a resolution granting an easement to the Metropolitan St. Louis Sewer District on the property located at 441 Alfred Avenue and authorizing the mayor to execute such easement on behalf of the city of Kirkwood.
Do I have a motion and a second to accept Resolution 131-2024 as read?
Motion. Second.
Are there any questions or comments? Councilmember Reinecker.
What's this have to do with the Kirkwood train station property?
Nothing that I'm
Typo?
aware of.
That's what it says. There's requested an easement on the Kirkwood train station property.
Oh, it does say that. Yeah, that's a typo. That's Scrivener's error.
So is it at the train station or on Alfred Avenue?
It's on Alfred.
Okay.
How do we clarify?
So
We'll revise it. It's a Scrivener's error. You can pass it.
Yeah.
Just-
you go ahead and pass it and it'll be
Mhm.
revised. Okay.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
We can correct without any action of the council.
Okay. Yes,
Is this for
Councilmember
an
McLean.
existing line that's already there and they're just now trying to record it, or is this for a new line they're putting in?
Let Mark handle that one.
background on that, there is no inlet at the base of the cul-de-sac at Alfred. And so the water runs into that base at the inlet, where, a base where there is a base of the cul-de-sac where there is no inlet. And it actually runs back into the north toward the Alfred substation. So we've got a design in place to be able to set up an inlet and tap that inlet into an existing sewer so that we can actually move that water that builds up in the base of the cul-de-sac and keeps it from running into our substation, which can cause us some problems. So, yeah, what we're really doing now is making sure we have the easement so that we can do the sewer work, so that we don't have these flooding problems. And it'll be good for both the residents on Alfred, at the foot of Alfred, particularly at the very east, and also for our substation, which is really due north.
Who's paying, who will pay for the sewer line? Will it be MSD or Kirkwood or a combination?
Kirkwood Electric will be paying. That's gonna be roughly, I have it at about $250,000 when we actually bid the project from the prints that we've already generated.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mayor Gibbons?
Yes.
Councilmember Reinecker?
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer?
Yes.
Councilmember Jack Sadek?
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo?
Yes.
Councilmember McLean?
Yes.
Resolution 131-2024 has passed as read. Resolution 132-2024.
Mayor and Council, this is a resolution accepting the bid of Traymar Contracting in the amount not to exceed of $350,274.32, which includes a contingency of $31,843.12 for 2024 high-build electric waterborne pavement markings, acrylic, not electric, high-build acrylic waterborne pavement markings for the engineering department, and authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into a contract.
Do I have a motion and a second to accept Resolution 132-2024?
Motion.
Second?
Thank you. Any discussion? Yes, Councilmember Reinecker?
Yeah, Chris, I mean, where are we going to use this? And tell me about Traymar acrylic or high build acrylic, whatever you call it.
So to answer your first question, we've got a number of streets throughout Kirkwood. I could go down the list if you
No, I mean,
like,
just-
but throughout, mainly on Kirkwood Road is the big one. We've got so I can, but yeah, so it's refreshing of pavement markings, and then we're also, it's not only acrylic waterborne, it's also thermoplastic markings included in the contract. We have a generic term just for the name of the project, but it does include thermoplastic for arrows, railroad crossing symbols, and bike symbols. So we we do those because those are less restricted to turning movements. So crosswalks and stop bars, the thermoplastic doesn't last as long when you've got the high turning movements at intersections. And so the waterborne is what we elect to use at those markings.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Councilmember Zimmer?
Yes. What's the lifespan on these products compared to just, say, regular paint that we've used in the past? Because there's a cost difference, right? So is this, is this worth the extra cost using this versus just painting it and then a year or two later painting it again?
So the majority of this contract is waterborne paint. Now, we have spec'd a higher build. That's why you see the high build. So we seem to get another year out of that. However, if we use higher quality markings such as thermoplastic or hot tape, those are longer. Those would be 10. They have been, I guess, advertised as longer. However, in Kirkwood, where we've got narrow streets, tight right-of-ways, like I said, turning movements, it doesn't, is not really good for, to spend that money on, in my opinion.
Because I know we've had discussions about, how we're spending the money and, what's the best bang for the buck, if you will. So, as we continue to use these products, we can kind of get some experience and then say, well, we tried, waterborne markings. They didn't last very long. We should just go back to regular paint,
So just to be clear, waterborne is the regular
Sure,
paint.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But, as far as, taping or striping, some other type of product
Mhm.
that might be a little more expensive, it might last longer. So it might be a better value to go with something a little more expensive or less expensive.
And we've identified those in certain areas that aren't subject to those turning movements.
I think
Councilmember McLean.
Thank you. To follow up on Councilmember Zimmer, what is the lifespan? You said there's other products that last another year. How long do you expect these to last?
Total 2 to 3 years.
And how do you determine when to replace them? Is there like some sort of a meter or something that you guys could determine when they start fading?
So there is products called retroreflectometers out there that can measure reflectiveness and brightness of markings at nighttime. Actually, in 2022, we did a pavement striping survey, which identified faded markings. We've used that survey to identify where to paint. We feel like that overall approach versus, purchasing that piece of equipment is much more cost effective rather than using that retroreflectometer to come up with staff time to go measure all of the areas. And so we do have an inventory currently of all the pavement striping, and what's selected in this contract reflects our observations of faded pavement markings that would be restored within the contract.
How much is one of those tools that you're talking about, the reflectometer?
$20,000.
Is that a handheld tool or is it,
Yeah, it's a
can't put it on a car and drive down the roads?
So our other, what we did in 2022 was actually, our consultant that drove the roads gave us the pavement condition or the striping condition. So like we have a pavement condition index of all our streets, we have the same thing for faded pavement markings. We did that in 2022. So would like to do that in future years. And so we're still going off the data that we have from 2022 to assemble the list that we have.
Thank you.
Yeah. Councilmember Schaefer.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm back onto my one bid scenario that I always complain about. We need 3 bids. I went down and talked to Chris. He explained to me that they're like a sole source. They had another contractor that bid or was going to bid, but out of Kansas City, there's really nobody else. So we're kind of at the mercy of what's available in St. Louis. So I just wanted to kind of mention that. And then if we see any extra striping that needs to go on while we're out there striping, you're going to take care of that too at the same time?
Yes, we can add that to the contract. That's why we build in a contingency.
Yep.
And just to answer Al's question about who Tramar is, they've held our contract before, and so like Councilmember Schaefer said, we did only receive 1 bid, but the number of striping companies that do large, big striping contracts is limited. I know of 3 in St. Louis, and 1 have had some staff turnover, so that's why they didn't bid. And so he's actually joined the one in Kansas City, but due to their location, they probably didn't bid, is my assumption. So that's why we got 1 bid, but we do have worked with them in the past successfully, and they'll do a good job.
So this isn't just for the paint, this is they're gonna actually do the marking too?
So this would be the symbols as like arrows and bike
They're gonna
symbols.
do that, they're gonna come out and do the painting, or are we painting it using their paint?
It's all by the contractor.
Contractors doing everything, okay.
Correct.
All right, I thought it was just the paint first. All right.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Mayor Gibbons,
Yes.
Councilmember Reinecker,
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer,
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer,
Yes.
Councilmember Jack Sadek,
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo,
Yes.
Councilmember McLean.
Yes.
Resolution 132, 2024 has passed. Resolution 133, 2024.
Mayor and Council, this is a resolution amending the contract with G&W Engineering by entering into a supplemental agreement for additional design and construction engineering services by increasing the contract amount by $172,852.37, which includes a 10% contingency in the amount of $14,031.35 for a new total not to exceed amount of $292,902.37 for additional design and construction engineering services for the STP 5502612 Lindeman Road Improvement Project, and authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into an amended contract by entering into a supplemental agreement.
Do I have a motion and second for Resolution 133, 2024?
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? Yes, Councilman.
What's the additional cost for this? This seems to be, yeah, it seems to be a large amount. I noticed that the original resolution was almost 3 years ago. So it might be inflationary costs, things like that. I guess really my bigger question is, did we account for these changes back in 21? Why aren't we catching this all when we're first doing the contract, when we're applying for the grants? Because it looks like we have grant money on this one.
Well, this is actually for a different set of services with the same company doing construction engineering services in the amount of $140,313.45. And that's where the contingency comes from at 1403, whatever it was here. 14031.35. So, I mean, that's what the additional work is. It's services beyond what was in the original agreement. Is that not correct, Chris? Here we go.
Up here. So there's really two parts to this. First part is to increase the contract by 18,000. So that's to address neighbors' concerns of a sidewalk's too close to my house and we needed to redesign towards the street. We had some utility coordination that needed to happen. And so that's the $18,000 you see there. Second part of this is for construction engineering services, and that's I guess it would be it's about 168, I don't have that exact number in front, or 158, sorry. That would be for just construction, and so it was anticipated for that to occur. That's not unforeseen, and so that would be, it's not a contingency.
If it was anticipated, maybe I'm reading this wrong, I'm looking at the legislation request, looks like there was a grant that was given to us on this. So was this included in the grant application?
Yes.
And we just weren't awarded
Yeah.
80% or whatever? on this
Correct.
portion?
So 80% of the construction engineering costs will be reimbursed by MoDOT.
80% of the 154?
Yes.
So will it be a supplemental application we have to do then?
So in order to contract with G&W, it's just an amendment to their contract. We word it that it's a supplement, but it was anticipated and also in the grant application originally.
Because I see this, we have a couple others coming forward also. So even though you're coming back to us for more money,
Mhm.
you're gonna, I guess, reapply for the grant, for this grant money?
No, this has already been awarded. This is just to approve more money to G&W
Why
Engineering.
wasn't this money approved in this case in 2021 then?
So the way we do it, typically we award for preliminary engineering. And then once we get to construction or right before construction, that's when we would go before you to ask for the supplement agreement.
But the grant covers it,
Yes,
still included as part of the grant.
yes.
So one thing I didn't ask when I was visiting you was the 18,000 for extras for the citizens you've listened to about moving things around. Is that part of the, going back to the grant as well, and we're getting 80% for that as well, or?
Unfortunately, no.
Not?
No,
Okay.
because it's a not to exceed number
I
on that
got you.
engineering cost.
I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that.
Mhm.
So the reason why we're having the extra $18,000 is because of citizens' input on how they wanted their front yard to look.
Mhm.
Got it. Thank you.
I'm going to follow that up, Chris. So this is just, I want to understand the process. So did these people know before you started that there's a sidewalk coming down there? And didn't comment on what the location until you started digging or something, or?
No, none of this has been dug or, so we've approached them to get an easement from them.
Right.
And, they're, come back and say, well, I don't want to provide that easement. And then they provide a different objection to say, okay, well, if I'm not going to sign the easement, then, the city could move the sidewalk.
It's basically a negotiation.
It seems like it's been out of order, though. I mean, before we did the engineering for the sidewalk, we should have asked the citizens where they wanted the sidewalk. Right?
Mm,
Am I misunderstanding this?
Not necessarily. We've done that only on one project, on Longview. And we got a good response about it. But, to ask every single resident about how they feel if they want a sidewalk, it would be a little bit out of order as far as design, and, that's not typically how a project is done. We can look at alternative delivery methods on projects like we did on Longview. But in this case, we design for a sidewalk that has the best comfort, that has a 6 foot, like a grass strip and a 5 foot sidewalk.
I think what
And-
it comes down to is you design the project the way it should be designed, and then if people step in the way of it, you have to negotiate with them to adjust. To try to adjust at the front end could cost the city a whole lot more money.
All right. Fair enough.
I just, what, one question, Chris, I mean, basically the sidewalk and the tree lawn is in the city right away, correct? And this is a temporary easement, or we actually had to buy property for them to accommodate the new sidewalk?
These are sidewalks that are typically within the right of way. However, it requires additional temporary easements to construct it, for slope tie-ins, things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Just a little, little history there. So this goes back to, sorry, going back to Marge Schramm, when she proposed the walkability around in the neighborhoods and pushed for sidewalks. And I can tell you that back in the day, Lindemann did not want sidewalks over there at that time. They pushed hard back that they didn't want them. But we enjoy a lot of other sidewalks in Kirkwood now because of Marge. So there's a little history.
Thank you for being our historian. Any other questions or, okay, roll call, please.
Mayor Gibbons?
Yes.
Councilmember Reinecker?
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer?
Yes.
Councilmember Dick Sadek?
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo?
Yes.
Councilmember McLean?
Yes.
Resolution 133-2024 has passed. Resolution 134-2024.
Mayor and Council, this is a resolution amending the contract with Crawford, Murphy, and Tilly by entering into a supplemental agreement number 2 to engineering services contract and increasing the contract amount by $106,205, which includes a 10% contingency in the amount of $9,655 for a new total not to exceed amount of $297,353.94 for right-of-way acquisition services for the STP 5502615 South Kirkwood Road resurfacing project, and authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into an amended contract by entering into supplemental agreement number 2 to engineering services contract.
Do I have a motion and second to accept Resolution 134, 2024?
Motion.
Any comments or discussion? Yes, Councilmember McLean.
Again, this is, you say this is eligible for 80% reimbursement through MoDOT?
Yes.
When you say eligible, does that mean it hasn't been approved yet, or is it?
Yes, funding has been approved for it.
Okay.
When I say eligible, we haven't got it yet, but we'll submit it.
Or-
Yeah.
I like these 80-20 projects.
Yeah, the staff's done a good job of getting those.
Done an incredible job of that.
Other questions down here? Roll call, please.
Mayor Gibbons?
Yes.
Councilmember Reinecker?
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer?
Yes.
Councilmember Jack Sadek?
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo?
Yes.
Councilmember McLean?
Yes.
Resolution 134, 2024 has passed. Resolution 135, 2024.
Mayor and Council, this is a resolution authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into a reimbursement agreement with the Metropolitan St. Louis Sewer District in the not-to-exceed reimbursable amount of $130,313.93 for engineering, design, and construction services for the STP 5502614 South Clay Avenue resurfacing project.
Do I have a motion and a second to accept Resolution 135, 2024 as read?
Motion.
Second. Thank you. Any comments or discussion? Councilman Schaefer.
This is 100% reimbursement from MSD, correct?
Yes, so this is, all these costs are being reimbursed at 100% cost by MSD.
Like that number better.
He raised you.
Historian, he's our plumber.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Mayor Gibbons?
Yes.
Councilmember Reinecker?
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer?
Yes.
Councilmember Jack Sadek?
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo?
Yes.
Councilmember McLean?
Yes.
Resolution 135, 2024 has passed as read. Resolution 136, 2024.
Mayor and Council, this is a resolution amending the contract with IMEG Corporation by entering into a supplemental agreement and increasing the contract amount by $10,313.93 for a new total not to exceed amount of $203,961.77 for additional professional engineering services for the STP 5502614 South Clay Avenue resurfacing project, and authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into an amended contract by entering into a supplemental agreement.
Do I have a motion and second to accept Resolution 136, 2024 as read?
So moved.
Second.
Take you.
I know you're going to take me.
Yeah.
Any comments or discussion?
I just have a comment. Based on the last 5 resolutions, you will be a busy man. Oh, the way, yeah. Your department will be busy.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
They're already busy.
Keep it coming.
A lot of good road work.
I just want to say, looks like Chris, this would be again 100% reimbursed by MSD. Good work.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Stole my thunder.
Okay, sorry.
Well,
Well-
I want to know when we're going to have, I had 80-20, Mr. Schaefer got the 100%.
Now you want 100.
I want 110%.
There you go.
Pushing it.
Yeah. Roll call, please.
Mayor Gibbons?
Yes.
Councilmember Reinecker?
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer?
Yes.
Councilmember Jack Sadek?
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo?
Yes.
Councilmember McLean?
Yes.
Resolution 136-2024 is passed as read. Now we move into council reports. Yes, Councilmember Letza.
Bravo to Green Tree, to the Parks Department, everybody. It was to whatever the weather gods for giving us almost perfect weather, and to everyone involved, councils, staff, citizens, visitors. It was awesome.
Very good. I also want to acknowledge the new plantings at the library, the new gardens. They are absolutely beautiful. And the library staff and board is to be commended for the foresight in putting that together. Al, you get to look at it all the time, you lucky guy.
Looks like an airport at night.
Oh, it does? Okay.
Landing pad.
Lights.
I'll have to check that out.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Yeah, wrong color. I hope not.
Oh, gratuitous lighting.
Okay,
Yeah.
Councilmember
Lot of
Schaefer?
I have two reports, one from library and one from Board of Adjustment. You kind of stole my thunder. We
Sorry.
did that's all good, Mayor, you're in charge. Ribbon cutting was this past week, and it is a very nice project that they did. Let's see, what else am I missing? They received funding for Wi-Fi updates. A company that they use now received a federal grant. And so the city of Kirkwood, through the library board, is entering into a 5-year contract which will cost them nothing because this company received ARPA funds. And so they're going out and they're going to come to the library and completely redo all the Wi-Fi in there. And so that'll be updated. That was nice. Then we go over to Board of Adjustment. We had three different requests one on Lynn Crest that passed, one on West Essex that was approved. There was one on 507 South Holmes for a 7-unit complex that was to replace 2 houses that failed with a 3-2 vote.
You. Any other? Councilmember McLean?
Last night, Human Rights Commission had their 10-year anniversary of the Ferguson event, Michael Brown. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend, but I heard it was wonderful, and I've heard good things about that. So thank you, Human Rights Commission, for putting that together.
Yes. Any other reports? No, okay. Chief Administrative Officer's report.
I have nothing to report, Mayor.
City Attorney of report.
Nothing to report.
Oh, my goodness, okay. City Clerk report.
Yes, Your Honor. I have a couple things to report on. First, I will read the report of last night's Planning and Zoning Commission. The following action was taken. By a vote of 6-1, the commission recommended approval of a zoning text amendment to increase the maximum size of tenant space from 2,000 square feet to 3,300 square feet for personal and commercial service uses in the B2 zoning district. A public hearing will be scheduled for that for October 17th. After a presentation by staff and the petitioner on 2 related applications consisting of 1, a text amendment on garage design in residential zoning districts, section 25-48F, specifically for the R-MM zoning district, and 2, a zoning map amendment from R5 to R-MM at 223 West Monroe Avenue. A subcommittee was appointed. The subcommittee will meet at City Hall in the main level conference room on Wednesday, September 25th at 9 a.m. After a presentation by staff and the petitioner on a major site plan and an amendment to the special use permit for vehicle sale and rental at 10525 and 10725 Manchester Road, a subcommittee was appointed. The subcommittee will meet on site at 10525 Manchester Road on Tuesday, October 1st at 7:30 a.m. And the other item I have to report on is another scheduled upcoming public hearing. This one is for our next council meeting, October 3rd. It's a request for a zoning map amendment from B1 to R5 on the property address as 430 South Clay Avenue. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything? No. Seeing no further business, this meeting is now adjourned. The next regular scheduled meeting will be on Thursday, October 3rd. Thank you.